message that you're giving. And so having that instilled in me growing up really led me down this path to teaching and coaching and motivating others, because a lot of the time people forget about that. And it's like they say the first thing that's on their mind, and they don't think about the impact that their words have. It's like, well, I didn't mean to say that. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I was just trying to tell you. And they don't think about the impact of what they said has on an individual. And then they become upset, right? When the other person is like, well, you hurt my feelings. Or when you said this, it made me feel like this. It's like, well, why do you feel that way? I was just saying, So it's definitely important when I'm doing my coaching sessions that I keep that at the core when I'm working with someone, but then also transferring that skill onto them, right? Because if that's a skill that we can transfer, if it's one person at a time, then we can start healing together. Because if everyone is being intentional about their words, about their actions, about the impact and the imprint that they're leaving in the world, then that discourse will remain open and remain truthful. And so that is definitely something, open communication and effective communication is another big part of the coaching, what Go Mind Thoughts does. Because in order for you to really start to fully heal from past and present wounds, you definitely have to think about the impact it has on your life, and then the impact that traumatic experience is causing you to have on others. And then it also has a lot to do with communication, with you being able to articulate what you're feeling and understand why you're feeling the way that you're feeling. And I know that was a mouthful here. I know, I definitely know it was. But it's so important to get that message out there, because so many of us are suffering and holding things in because we are afraid to have the tough conversations, and we are afraid of what people may think about the way we're feeling about something that they did to us, right?
Yeah.
And so until you can address those wounds and really articulate what impact it had on you and why it had that impact on you, then you'll continue to go through that path. And then that's something that I know, another aspect that I go into when I start talking about self-harming and creating valid spaces in your mind. So, and when you think about creating a valid space in your mind, that goes to that point where when you're so worried about how the other person might feel about the way that they made you feel, that you just keep that hurt on yourself. And that's creating that valid space for yourself, because you're like, at that point, you're not recognizing your worth, and you're not recognizing how much the impact is having on you, and you're not recognizing how valid your feelings are.
Yeah.
So that is a valid space that you are creating within yourself, trying to make sure that the other person doesn't feel upset about the way that they're making you feel. So that is definitely, there's so many different tiers to the coaching that I do. And again, that's what makes Go Mind Thoughts so unique, because like I said, it helps you navigate through your thoughts, feelings, and emotions so that you can be the best version of yourself, because you deserve to know what love looks like, feels like, and sound like. And even if it's you learning to love yourself, by you learning to love yourself, everybody else's love is extra. So now you create these boundaries where it's like, well, if you can't love me like this, then this is not a relationship you need to have. And you're walking into that knowing what love feels like, knowing what your expectations are from that relationship. And that is the most fulfilling thing, because the other person just has to either get on board. I'm either going to respect your boundaries or I'm going to walk away. And if they choose to walk away, then they didn't deserve the blessing of your presence.
Yeah. Wow. Beautifully said. And let me ask you, did you have a lot of naysayers in your life? Do you have people who put you down, who didn't believe in you? Does it still happen today?
Definitely. It definitely does. And so, like I said, everything I do is proven. Like, these are definitely tips I give, but things that I've experienced myself. These are things that clients experience, and I've helped them coach them through. These are things that leaders experience, and I help them through. So everything is proven. Like, all techniques and resources that I use are proven. And I will definitely say I was not always this open. I was not always this positive, because I went through my shared levels of trauma myself. I went through from being when I was younger, and people not wanting to be my friend because it was like, oh, she thinks she's better than everybody else. And it's like, no, I don't. I just know how I want people to talk to me. Like, I know the things that I want. Or she thinks that she's better because, oh, she goes to cheerleading, she does these extra things. And it wasn't about me thinking that I was better. It was just that I had people in my life that wanted me to do things other than be a statistic. I had people who wanted the best for me, or who wanted me to be able to do things that they weren't able to do, And so that has a lot to do with your background, right? And your upbringing. And I didn't know that or understand that when I was younger, And so I would be upset with my parents, because it's like, you're forcing me to go to this, or you're forcing me to go to cheerleading, and other people are not doing that. And they couldn't understand, like, well, why wouldn't you want to do? But just because other people can't do it doesn't mean that you don't deserve to do it, And I had to learn that. I had to unlearn that I should not deprive myself of things that other people may not be able to have because they're upset based on their own trauma.
Yeah.
And that took me a while to do that, right? Because when you're a kid, a teenager, you want to be liked. Yeah. You want to be cool. You want to be with the in crowd. And so it took a long time for me to understand that you don't have to be with the in crowd to be happy.
Yeah.
You don't have to be with the in crowd to do the right thing. Because 9 times out of 10, if it was the best thing to do, they wouldn't be coaching you to do it. They will be doing it themselves. So, when you're young and you have those friends, it's like, oh, you should go over there and do this. Or you should go over there and say this, and it's disrespectful. And then you're like, oh, well, my friends are telling you to do it. So you laugh and you go on and you do it, and then you get in trouble, right? And you're like, well, why am I getting in trouble? And it's like, and so going through those experiences, my older sister taught me that if it was a great idea, they would get it themselves. And that's something that I began to instill as I got older in my students. That was something I began to instill in my own child. It's like, if your friends feel that something is so great to do, why hadn't they tried it themselves first?
True. Talking goes a long way. What they can do, what they will do.
Right. And as a parent, that you have to have those talks with the boys. That's like, hey, I don't know what happens over here at little Johnny house, but over here in Jill's house, these are the rules and these are the boundaries over here.
Had that conversation today. No, we went out. The kids didn't have camp today, so early this morning we went to Costco with my niece, and we were in the parking lot and we was driving, and all of a sudden some guy at a stop sign intersection, he blew his stop sign. And I didn't have a stop sign, so I could make a right. And he started beeping at me, and he gave us the finger. So I'm like, so my son, like, F you. And I'm like, Austin. I'm like, no. I'm like, don't say that. I said, no. This is how this is actually a good thing this happened. You have to handle the situation. That guy was angry. He was wrong. Sometimes mommy's wrong, and maybe I didn't.